Welcome back. Today is Thursday, May 13th, and I am bringing another episode of my Crochet and Knit podcast. Mostly restricted to crochet and knit, but if I have other fibery things going on or other crafty things going on, I'll probably share a little bit of that in this episode as well, or this series, I should say, not today. I don't have anything that I'm wearing today that is fiber related, so I'm not going to share that. And I think I will just go ahead and get started with my whips because I do not have any FOs. I'm working on several Make 9 projects for 2021, and they're all garments. So you are entering, I think, the third episode of just showing more progress on the things that I'm starting and working on, and I'm not wanting to cast on anything else in the meantime, just because there's already quite a bit going on and I want to make sure I'm still making progress on the things I'm working on. So I'm going to change up the order a little bit today. I think I will start with the thing that I've made the most progress on, which is my Turn Tunic dress made by Haley Bailey. Ooh, I think I felt some stitches coming out. Good thing it's just crochet. So this, it's almost too big for the camera. I officially have my front and back panels done. They are seamed and the sleeves are done. I mean, ends aren't woven in, but sleeves are done. I wanted to do them in a contrasting color. And then I've started on the skirt. So as you can see, I think I was almost done with the back panel on the last show. And yeah, maybe even just like halfway done. So I've done quite a bit, and the skirt is gonna take a long time. Working through the top, I was pretty optimistic on how quickly I was gonna, I started the project thinking it was gonna take forever, and then I was making lots of progress on the top part, and I was like, you know what, maybe this will finish faster than I thought. And now that I'm on this beautiful lacy pattern of the skirt part of the dress, it's gonna take me a while. So I think I am, so there's a design that kind of makes up this triangle here, and I'm looking at that as kind of like a row almost, even though it's made of 3 rows in itself. I am on the 3rd row of this triangle lace pattern, and this falls at my waist. So I have probably at least 2 feet, maybe 2.5 feet or more of skirt that I want to do because I want this to fall at about my knees. So I have a while to go. This is what, maybe maybe 4 inches, this part right here. So I have lots to do. But that is definitely the project that I made the most progress on. I'm still dealing with some hand pain. I've been wearing arthritic compression gloves on a nightly basis, and I'm not sure if they're helping with the pain, but I definitely noticed when I forgot to sleep with them recently that my hands aren't as stiff when I wake up in the morning, which is something that I've had for years now anyway. I just didn't realize that that would help. So they do feel a little more nimble, but they still have quite a bit of not intolerable pain by any means. And taking a break doesn't seem to help it, so I'm just kind of working through it, which probably isn't great, but that's what I'm doing right now. And crocheting hurts a little bit less than knitting, so I have really been working through my dress instead of some of the knit projects that I have going on. And that would be things like my tulip wrap tank, which, not the pattern, but the yarn, I'm pretty sure is to blame for the hand pain. I love working, no, let me just say this. I love the drape of True. It is probably the most beautiful thing I've ever felt when it comes to yarn. pretty sure Trubu is the reason my hands hurt the way they do, because I was knitting just the same amount that I am doing now, but without Trubu, and my hands were just fine. And I switched to Trubu and started this top in March, and it's completely killed everything for me, which makes me really sad because it's so glorious. It's just, look, I mean, I can't get enough of the drape of this yarn, and I really wanted to do more with Trubu after this, but I just don't know if I physically can. I don't know if I've heard that wood needles help. I've adjusted some things with my hands to keep the yarn from slipping around as much when I'm working on it, and that seems to help a little bit, but not all the way. So I've heard wood needles help even more. If you are someone who's worked with Trubu and wood needles, like if you've knitted with both a wood and a metal needle, and wood needles definitely helped with any issues you were having, please let me know in the comments, because I would be curious to know if that in fact is the solution to my problem. Again, I would love to keep working with this yarn, but it's just so slippery. It slips off of my needles, it slips out of my hands. Like that I can't, wood needles won't fix that, so you know, maybe I'm in trouble either way. But I just have such a hard time holding it, and I would love for it to not be that way. I know I'm gonna love wearing this top once it's done. It's gonna feel absolutely wonderful, because I want to touch it all the time. But we'll see. I do have this, almost forgot to mention, it has been living. So I have the 2 front panels done. This is the back panel that I'm working on, and I have it living in my Lila Styles project bag that is Harry Potter themed. So I will continue showing this off every week that I have this project, because it is such, I think this was actually my first bought project bag, I should say, too. I just loved it so much. Thought the art print was fun, and I've been following the maker for a while at that time and wanted to be able to purchase something from them, so it is getting love. I guess next maybe I'll show the whip that I'm working on with my mom. If you've been watching for a while, you know that we are working on the Jimmy Beans 2020 craft vent. Yes, that's what they call it. From last year, obviously, 2020. And we're doing the knit pattern, which is Tidings to You by Amy Gunderson. And I'm working up the warmer colorway, and she's working up the cool tone colorway. We're both knitting the same item. So it's been fun watching this pattern come out across the different colors. And this is where we are after our latest session. We typically knit on Saturdays. And it's bigger sections of lace with these smaller transition pieces in the middle with, like, I call it ribbing, but it's not really ribbing because it's just alternating colors, but colored ribbing. And this is fishnet, I think that's what it's called, but I had never done it before this project, and I really like how plushy it is. Like, you can kind of just see, let's see if I can get this flat, because you can really see the way it, oh yeah, if you look against my face there, it really just rises up in comparison to the other knit parts. It's just very lush knit. It looks like knit, like big stockinette stitches. I guess it looks kind of like ribbing, so maybe it's fishnet ribbing. Yeah, I think maybe it was ribbing, but oops. It's really pretty. I like it a lot. So we're having fun. We are actually going to be finishing up this section probably this weekend. So we'll be traversing from this color into the next one and moving on. I don't think we're halfway done with this yet. We started at the end of December, and I don't know if this is maybe a third way through, but I don't think it's halfway through. So we're just gonna keep working on that as we work on it, and I'll keep showing my progress as I have it. Let's see, do I have just one more? I do. I have one more whip, and that is a test knit that I told myself I wasn't going to do, but I couldn't resist because it combines knit and crochet, which are two of my loves. So this is the Ivy Tunic by Knitway, and it is going to be a beautifully boxy top that ends up getting cinched at the waist with a tie, and I think it's gonna look really pretty once it's done. I fell in love with the look, and I just knew that I had to do it. So it's worked top down, so this is the armhole. I'm going through the neck and out the armhole, so I don't want to hold it upside down because it will fall off the needles. But I'm using another yarn that I had been wanting to use for a while, and I will say that I think I love the drape. I can't remember if I actually said the yarn I'm working with. It's Kobu, another Line brand yarn. And I didn't get a chance to play with it last year when it first came out and took the internet by storm. But I think I equally love the drape of this fabric. In knit, I should say. I haven't crocheted either Trubu or Kobu. But I think knit, it works up just as beautifully. It's not as shiny, and it doesn't hurt my hands as much, although I will say I'm not doing as much purling on this. Now that I'm working the round, I'm not doing any purling actually, it's all just stockinette. While my tulip wrap tank is worked as panels, so there's knit and purl. And the purling is definitely what's making the most pain for my hand. So it's not a complete apples to apples comparison, but I am strongly thinking that this might be a DK weight yarn that I start playing with more for garments because it feels amazing. I'll have to see how this wears first and if it actually feels like a cool wear or if it's kind of warm. I run very warm most of the time, and I want to make sure that my handmaids are things that are comfortable and I don't feel like I'm dying in them. So but if this wears well, as far as the material's concerned, probably gonna be a yarn that I use more because I would be curious to know how it crochets, but for this knit fabric, it feels absolutely glorious. Yeah. So the body is knit, and then once I'm done, the armholes and the neckline and the belt that cinches at their waist will be crocheted. That's the word I'm looking for. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I have messages popping up on my phone and it's distracting me, so I need to stop looking at those. So I think those are the only 3 areas that will get crocheted. I am about halfway done with the stockinette right now. And then I gotta see what it looks like on to see if I need to make it longer. But I'm about halfway to what the pattern recommends. So I think this might be releasing sometime in June. The test isn't due until early June, so I imagine maybe by the end of the month. I'm not sure if anything needs to happen after the test period is done, or if they just need to make edits and then release the pattern, but I'll be sure to post about that when the pattern is released because I'm very excited about it. I'm still learning what my tastes are when it comes to making my own garments. And I've found out that some of the things that I've made or tested aren't necessarily up my alley. Even though I love them, I love the garments. It's just something about the way either I made them or the way they look when I put them on that I'm like, that's not for me. And that's fine. So I'm still definitely learning what that looks like. And even though I may love the way a garment looks in the pattern or when other people are wearing it and when I'm making it, I'm picky. I have always been picky about the clothes that I wear. Not like the brand or anything, just like the way they look on me. So I shouldn't be surprised by that by any means, but we'll see. I think this will be a really flattering top though. I'm very excited to see what it looks like and the way it feels for sure. So that is my last whip. I really wanted to focus on these garments this year because they're things that I added to my list last year and then didn't do them, or I bought the yarn for and then didn't do them. And I really wanted to make them a priority, so that's why I created a pretty ambitious make 9. It's definitely a mixture of knit and crochet, although it might be a pretty good balance between them actually. I don't know if it leans heavier one way or the other. It might lean a little heavier toward knit though, because I do have those 2 sweaters. So I did come to a realization that I don't think I enjoy crocheting garments anymore unless I can figure out a way to give them the same kind of flexibility that you get with knit. And again, it makes sense because crochet, the way it's constructed between crocheting and knitting, it makes sense that crochet is stiffer. But I don't think I realized until recently, because I've only been knitting garments for like less than a year. I think I was starting my first one about a year ago. And even then I haven't done too many. I think I've finished 2 knit garments with plans to do many more. And I love the way the fabric feels and I can't get over that. That is what drew me back to knitting, because before last year I hadn't picked it up for probably close to 10 years. I really hadn't done any knitting. I learned in college, I did a couple of experiments, and then I went back to crochet because I was making amigurumi and that's what was making me happy at the time. And I will not be knitting amigurumi, sorry, but that won't be happening. And then as I started following more knitters on Instagram, there's something about the way that fabric looks, and that is what brought me to it. And now I think I've gotten to the point where I love crochet, but I just don't know if I want to do any more crochet garments. I just don't like the way they feel. I feel bad for saying that. I feel like I'm betraying my original craft, but there's just something about the way a knit garment lays. And maybe part of it's the fiber I'm using, but I'm seeing the trend where I'm starting to move over. And not to say that crochet doesn't have its place, because amigurumi, I think those will always be really fun for me to make. And those will always be crochet. But I'm starting to have a hard time justifying when I would rather crochet something than knit something, outside of, you know, the fact that it hurts more to knit. I will say that my turn tunic dress, I am concerned about what the weight will do to the garment once it's done, but I'm hoping because it's cotton and it's lacy that maybe it will feel light when I'm wearing it. Anyway, I'm gonna close that ramble because I have one more thing to share. It's not anything I'm working on, but my April knit crate arrived last week. I'm not sponsored or anything. I just wanted to share this because this is probably my favorite knit crate yarn so far. I don't do it every month. I'm pretty choosy, so I skip quite a bit. It has to be either a palette or sometimes a project that's pretty compelling for me to get knit crate, but let's be honest, it's usually the yarn. And I really like this yarn, and so I thought I would share it because I have more on the way from their double down. They still had a little bit left in stock. They sold out of pretty much all of the colors. In fact, the color that I really wanted sold out like the first day, but my crate hadn't arrived yet, so I couldn't trust that I was going to order the color that matched what I was getting or coordinate with what I was getting. But after mine arrived, I figured out what project I want to do. I even figured out the outfit that I would pair it with. This is called Audine Wool's Bloom. It's a chainette construction yarn, DK weight, although I've heard that it apparently is like a light worsted and a heavy DK. So I haven't done any work with it yet, but you can kind of, I mean, you can see that texture right there already. And it is, let me read it off the other tag while I'm holding this one up here. It is 80% alpaca wool, 10% silk, and 10% camel. And for this particular box, it was the fiber content that caught my attention, because camel and yarn, I don't know, I'm still new to all the different fiber contents of yarn, but I thought that was so intriguing and it piqued my attention, piqued my interest. I got the color Forget Me Not, which looked more of like a cream on their advertising, but it's actually, as you can kind of see, it's more of like a tan, I would say. Like, it's definitely more of like a brownish tone. Very neutral. I would not call it a cream. I wish I could share what this feels like. It's very soft. It does have some texture because of the chain, but it's just, it's squishy. I feel like it's just so airy because of the chainette. I haven't worked with a chainette yarn before, but I can definitely see the difference in like squishing it and feeling the way it like opens up versus like a ply yarn. And it does have some variation in color. You can kind of see that there's some darker areas and almost places that look like a little more red. So my crate came with 2 of these, and then I ordered 2 more begonias, which is like a deep red. The theme for the crate was petal, so they're all flower themed, which was really cute. The color palette overall in this box was probably my favorite so far. There were 9 different colorways, and I would have been happy with any of them. Yeah. Except for maybe Forget Me Not, but it works out because it actually coordinates with an outfit perfectly, and I'm gonna make the Love Note crop sweater, starting with the begonia at the top and fading into this cream, and then I'm gonna layer it with this pretty flower dress I have, which just realized that that fits pretty well considering it's petal themed, but it's gonna be freaking gorgeous. I'm excited. I just have had this yarn sitting on our guest bed on top of the dress I want to wear it with, just so that when I enter the room I can look at it and it makes me happy. So I figured that's a pretty good way to feel about yarn and an upcoming project. So No clue when I'll start it. Probably not this year. Maybe this year. I don't know. But I'll have the yarn for it. So that is all I have for today. I'm going to cut it here before my camera runs out of memory. And all of my information will be in the description, links to Ravelry, my social media, my website, although my website, I need to get that sorted out. That's all I have. Take care.